Have you ever wondered why some people, no matter how much money they spend, always seem to have more flowing back into their lives, while others cling tightly to every dollar, only to feel emptier over time? What if money is not just paper, coins, or numbers in your bank account, but a living energy waiting to be given, received, and circulated like breath itself? And what if the secret to abundance isn't about holding on, but about learning how to dance with this energy, letting it move through you, shaping not just your finances, but your entire life? If you feel a quiet spark inside while hearing these questions, it's because deep down, you already know. Money is more than a means of survival. It is a reflection of how we think, how we love, and how we connect with the world around us. When we shift our perspective from fear to flow, from scarcity to circulation, money becomes a spiritual ally helping us grow, serve, and create impact. This journey is not about dry financial strategies or numbers on a spreadsheet. It is about reawakening the way we see money, not as a weight to carry, but as a river that can nourish everything it touches together. We will explore what it truly means to give with intention, to receive with humility, and to circulate wealth as part of a greater circle of life. So, take a deep breath, let go of the old stories that told you money is hard, cold, or limited, and prepare to step into a new vision, one where you are not just a keeper of money, but a channel through which abundance flows endlessly and beautifully. Chapter 1. The energy of money as flow. When we look at money only as bills, coins, or digits on a screen, we miss its deeper truth. Money, at its core, is energy. It is a universal language of exchange and agreement between people that allows ideas, value, and creation to move, just as the ocean is not made up of single drops, but a vast and flowing current. Money, too, is not static. It is movement. It is circulation. Think about it. A single note in your hand may have traveled through dozens, even hundreds of lives before reaching you. It might have been used to buy bread for a family, to build someone's first business, to pay for a child's education, or to donate to a cause. That note is not lifeless. It carries stories, emotions, and choices within it. Every transaction is not just an exchange of currency, but an exchange of energy. In nature, everything thrives when it flows. Rivers purify themselves by moving. Air sustains life because it circulates. Blood brings vitality to the body because it never stops traveling when flow is blocked. Stagnation sets in, and with stagnation comes decay. Money works the same way. The moment we cling to it out of fear, or hoard it from a place of scarcity, we interrupt its natural rhythm. This is why people who are obsessed with keeping money locked away often feel tension, anxiety, and lack even if their bank accounts are full. On the other hand, those who understand money as flow carry a different energy. They trust that what goes out can return multiplied. Because they are in harmony with circulation, money as a mirror of inner beliefs. The way we relate to money reveals much about how we relate to life. Do we see money as a friend or as a threat? Do we treat it with gratitude or with fear? Do we allow it to move freely, or do we strangle it with constant worry? When you shift your view of money from being a scarce object to an endless flow, you unlock something profound. You begin to participate in the larger rhythm of the universe. Suddenly, giving becomes less of a loss and more of an investment in the circle of life. Receiving becomes less about guilt and more about gratitude. Circulating becomes less about spending and more about co-creating with others. To think of money as energy is to be invited into a deeper dance. This dance asks us to release fear, to trust the current, and to see ourselves not as isolated owners, but as channels through which money passes. The more freely we allow this flow, the more abundance we experience, not just in financial terms, but in joy, relationships, opportunities, and inner peace. And so, the first step to awakening a new relationship with money is this. See it not as an object, but as a flow. Imagine it like water. You cannot drink from a stagnant pond, but a flowing stream brings freshness to everything it touches. With this understanding in place, we are now ready to step into the next chapter, where the flow of money begins, not by holding, but by releasing. Chapter 2. The Sacred Act of Giving. If money is energy, then giving is the way we set that energy into motion, with intention. Giving is not simply a transfer of material wealth. It is a spiritual act, a declaration of trust in life itself. Each time we give, we are saying, I believe in abundance. I believe there is more where this came from. I believe in the flow. Number 1, giving as a statement of faith. Have you ever noticed how people who give generously seem to carry a sense of lightness? That is because giving is not only about what leaves your hands, it is about what expands in your heart. When you give, you dissolve the chains of scarcity. You demonstrate both to yourself and to the universe that you trust the cycle of return. Think of a farmer. When she places seeds in the soil, she is not losing them. She is investing them into a future harvest. The same is true with money. When we give from a place of faith and purpose, we plant seeds in the fertile ground of humanity. Those seeds may grow in ways we cannot predict. Through kindness returned, opportunities created, or blessings that multiply in unseen ways. Number 2, giving transforms the giver. The true beauty of giving is that it does not just change the receiver, it transforms the giver. When you give, you expand your own sense of who you are. You are no longer confined to the limits of self-preservation. You step into the role of a co-creator of abundance. Psychologists have discovered that acts of generosity released happiness chemicals in the brain: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. But beyond the science, there is a spiritual truth. Giving lifts us into a higher vibration. It makes us feel aligned with something larger than ourselves. We feel connected. We feel alive. Number 3, the purity of intention. But here is where giving becomes sacred. It is not about the size of the gift, but the intention behind it. $10 given with resentment carries a different energy than a single dollar given with joy. A gift given to manipulate or to control is not true giving. It is a disguised transaction. Sacred giving is pure. It is free of expectation. It is fueled by love, compassion, and trust. That is why even the smallest act of generosity, a smile, a word of encouragement, a simple meal shared, can carry immense spiritual weight. Number 4, giving as unlocking flow. The paradox of giving is that the more we release, the more we receive. Not because of some mechanical formula, but because giving keeps us aligned with the flow of money and energy itself. By giving, we remove the blockage of fear. We tell life, I am open, I am ready, I trust the cycle. When you hold too tightly, the flow narrows. When you release, the flow expands. Just like breathing, you cannot inhale without exhaling first. Giving is the exhale of abundance. Receiving is the inhale. Both are necessary for life. Let's talk about a new way of seeing giving. Imagine, for a moment, what the world would look like if giving was not treated as charity or obligation, but as a sacred practice. Imagine entrepreneurs building businesses not only for profit, but for contribution. Imagine families teaching children that sharing is not losing, but gaining. Imagine yourself giving not because you have to, but because you get to. When we embrace giving as sacred, money is no longer just currency. It becomes a current of love, carrying us all toward greater wholeness. And this leads us naturally to the next chapter, the humility of receiving. Because in order for the flow to remain unbroken, giving must always meet its counterpart, the open hands and grateful heart of receiving. Chapter 3. The humility of receiving. If giving is the exhale of abundance, then receiving is the inhale. One cannot exist without the other. Yet for many of us, receiving feels uncomfortably shameful. We've been taught that strength means self-reliance, that dignity means never asking for help, that worthiness must always be earned. And so, we close ourselves off from the gifts life is constantly trying to place in our hands. But here lies the paradox. Refusing to receive breaks the flow just as much as refusing to give. To receive with humility is not weakness. It is an act of trust, of openness, of allowing yourself to be loved by life. Think about how often we dismiss compliments. Someone says, "You did an amazing job," and we wave it off with, "Oh, it was nothing." Someone offers us help, and we respond with, "No, I'm fine, I can handle it." Behind these reflexes is a quiet wound. The belief that we are not enough, not worthy to receive without proving, without earning, but worthiness is not a prize to be won. It is your birthright. Every breath you take is proof that you are meant to receive. You did nothing to earn the sunrise. The oxygen, the heartbeat within you, these are gifts freely given. To embrace them with gratitude is to stand in alignment with the truth of who you are. Receiving is not passive. It is a practice, a discipline of learning to stay open when your instincts want to close. It takes humility to say, "Yes, thank you, I accept." It takes courage to allow others to support you without shame, and it takes wisdom to recognize that by receiving, you give others the gift of giving. Imagine refusing a child's drawing because you didn't deserve it. Imagine shutting the door on someone who genuinely wanted to help. Refusing to receive does not only deny yourself, it denies the giver their joy, their opportunity to express love and generosity. Receiving, then, is itself a form of giving. It is giving the giver permission to fulfill their role in the flow. The most powerful way to receive is with gratitude. Gratitude transforms a simple exchange into a sacred moment. When you receive with genuine appreciation, you amplify the energy of the gift. You acknowledge not just the object or the money, but the intention, the love, the connection carried with it. Gratitude is magnetic. The more you express it, the more life sends reasons for you to feel it. It is like opening your heart wider, signaling to the universe, "I am open to the flow. I welcome abundance. I honor the gifts that come my way." Life is always offering opportunities, relationships, lessons, moments of joy. They are all gifts, but they require open hands. Too often, we overlook them, waiting for something grand, something worthy of our attention, while dismissing the quiet blessings that surround us. To practice receiving, start with the small. Receive the compliment without deflecting. Receive the sunrise without distraction. Receive help without guilt. Each act of receiving strengthens your capacity to stand in the circle of abundance. Giving without receiving leads to exhaustion. Receiving without giving leads to stagnation. Balance comes when both flow freely, when you can both pour out and be poured into. This balance is not selfish, it is sacred. It reminds us that we are part of a larger circulation of energy, not isolated sources of supply. And so, as we learn to give with joy and receive with humility, we prepare ourselves for the next step, circulating money as an ongoing spiritual practice. For only when energy moves through us without clinging or resistance can we truly embody the flow of abundance. Chapter 4. Circulating money as a spiritual practice. If money is energy, then its true power is not in being stored, but in being circulated. Like water, it is meant to flow. If you dam it up, it grows stagnant. If you let it move, it nourishes everything it touches. Circulating money is not about reckless spending or careless generosity. It is about engaging with money consciously, seeing each exchange as an act of alignment, intention, and flow. Money as movement, not possession. From childhood, many of us were taught to hoard, save every penny, guard it closely, hold on tight, while saving has its place. Fear-driven hoarding often creates more scarcity than security, because When money is clutched too tightly, its energy contracts, it cannot breathe. But when you choose to circulate money paying joyfully, investing with intention, giving freely, you participate in a greater rhythm of life. You begin to see money not as something you own, but as something you channel. And in that shift, money becomes lighter. It becomes less of a burden and more of a blessing. Think about the last time you bought something and felt guilt afterward. That heavy feeling comes from disconnection. You exchanged money without intention, without alignment to your values. Now contrast that with a purchase that felt empowering, perhaps investing in your growth, supporting a friend's work, or buying something that truly enriches your life. The money was the same, but the energy was different. Conscious circulation transforms every transaction into a sacred choice. When you spend, ask yourself, does this expand me or does it shrink me? Am I circulating with love or with fear? These questions restore your power in the flow. Circulating money is more than giving once or receiving once. It is about maintaining a rhythm. When you give, it eventually returns in unexpected ways. When you receive, you are entrusted with resources that are meant to move forward, not sit idle. The key is motion. Motion keeps energy alive. Imagine a community where everyone gave, but no one received. Or where everyone received, but no one gave. Both would collapse. But when both happen in balance, prosperity grows not just for individuals, but for the collective. Money teaches us about trust. To circulate is to trust that more will come, that life is abundant, that giving now will not leave you empty later. This trust transforms the way you relate to money. Instead of clinging, you flow. Instead of fearing, you expand. Circulating money is not about losing it, it is about multiplying energy every time you use money consciously. You are declaring, I trust life, I trust abundance, I am part of the circulation. Those who hoard often live in fear of losing. Those who circulate consciously live in freedom. They know money will always find its way back, often multiplied. Because they have not tried to trap it, they have kept it alive. Circulation brings lightness to wealth. It frees you from obsession and invites you into participation. You stop asking, how much can I keep? And start asking, how much can I flow through me? And when you live this way, money ceases to be a source of stress. It becomes a river that sustains you, your loved ones, and countless others whose lives are touched by its current. Having explored giving, receiving, and circulating, we begin to see that abundance is not a fixed state, but a living circle. Yet, there is still a shadow that must be faced. The deep-rooted chains of scarcity that whisper, there is not enough. To step fully into the circle of wealth, we must learn how to break free from that illusion. Chapter 5: Breaking the Chains of Scarcity. Scarcity is not always about the amount of money in your bank account, it is about the story you tell yourself about money. It is about the whisper in your mind that says, there will never be enough. This whisper, repeated often enough, becomes chains. Chains that keep you from giving, from receiving, from circulating. Chains that turn even the wealthiest person into a prisoner of fear. Scarcity is a mindset, not a number. Someone earning millions can live in scarcity if they are always worried about losing it. Someone with little can live in abundance if they trust the flow of life. The chains of scarcity are not measured in dollars, but in fear. This illusion often comes from old conditioning. Maybe you grew up hearing phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that. These seeds, planted early, grow into a mindset of limitation, and unless you pull them out by the root, they dictate every financial decision you make. How scarcity shrinks the soul. When scarcity rules, generosity feels dangerous, opportunities feel risky, dreams feel impossible. You stop reaching because the voice of fear keeps you small. Scarcity tells you to hold back. It tells you to keep your hands closed tight, even if what you're holding is only crumbs. And in that tightness, your soul contracts. You shrink not because life demanded it, but because fear convinced you it was safer. The first step in breaking these chains is awareness. Notice the thoughts that rise when money enters the conversation. Do you feel tension in your chest? Do you instantly calculate loss instead of gain? Do you imagine lack before possibility? Awareness allows you to see the and what you can see. You can choose to release. The mind may whisper not enough, but you can answer, I live in flow. Life provides. Abundance circulates through me, breaking the chains of scarcity. It is not about ignoring financial reality. It is about shifting your relationship with it. Instead of asking, what if I lose? Ask, what if I grow? Instead of shrinking from opportunities, you lean into them with wisdom. Every time you choose generosity over fear, trust over panic, circulation over hoarding, you weaken the chain. Each act of expansion bends the bars of the prison until one day you realize the door was never locked. To live beyond scarcity is to realize that enough is not a future destination. It is a present choice. You already have enough to breathe, enough to live, enough to take one more step. And from that foundation of enoughness, you can build more. Abundance is not waiting at the end of some finish line. It is here, now, in your willingness to open your hands to flow with life. To trust that what you give will return multiplied. The story of scarcity says, there is not enough. The story of abundance says, there is always more in flow. When you shift from the first story to the second, the chains fall away. You no longer live as a prisoner. You live as a participant in the eternal circulation of wealth. As you break free from scarcity, you begin to realize that wealth is not linear. It is circular. It does not end with earning, spending, or even saving. It lives in a rhythm, a continuous motion that keeps giving and receiving alive. And when you fully step into this rhythm, you discover what it means to live in the circle of wealth. Chapter 6. Living in the Circle of Wealth. Wealth, when seen through the lens of spirit, is not a straight line of accumulation. It is not a climb where the goal is to stack more and more on top until you feel secure. True wealth is a circular, living rhythm that connects giving, receiving, and circulating into one continuous flow. Look at nature. The oceans give water to the clouds. The clouds give rain to the earth. The earth gives life to trees and plants, which in turn give back to the air we breathe. Nothing is hoarded. Everything moves. This is the same with money. When you see wealth as part of this great rhythm, fear loses its grip. When someone clings too tightly, the circle breaks. Hoarded water becomes stagnant, attracting decay. Hoarded money does the same. It loses its vitality. It creates stress, obsession, and distance from joy. The purpose of money is not to sit still, but to move, to flow, to touch lives and others. On the other side, when someone only gives but refuses to receive, the circle also breaks. They may feel noble, but in reality, they are cutting off circulation. To give endlessly without receiving is like exhaling without inhaling. You suffocate the system. The circle only thrives when both directions are honored. Living in the circle of wealth means seeing money not as yours alone, but as part of a larger system. The paycheck you receive is someone else's act of circulation. The coffee you buy is your contribution to another person's livelihood. Every transaction is part of an invisible web connecting humanity together. When you participate consciously in this web, you see that wealth is never static. It is a shared experience. What flows out returns. What you allow in expands your capacity to give more. The deepest freedom comes when you no longer fear giving and you no longer resist receiving. You live in a state of balance. Your generosity is not reckless. It is intentional. Your receiving is not greedy. It is grateful. Both are sacred. Both honor the circle. In this balance, joy emerges. You no longer live with clenched fists or a guarded heart. Instead, your life feels like breathing, effortless, natural, and alive with possibility. Those who live in the circle of wealth become keepers of flow. They understand that every act of giving plants seeds, every act of receiving nourishes growth. Every act of circulating money sustains the greater rhythm of abundance for all. This is not just financial, it is spiritual, because when you live in the circle, you trust life. You recognize that abundance is not created through force, but through flow. When you live in the circle of wealth, you are no longer fragmented, divided between fear and desire, guilt and joy. You are whole. You become both giver and receiver, both channel and participant. And in this wholeness, you step into the highest role of all, not simply one who has wealth, but one who circulates it, multiplies it, and uses it as a force for light. The circle of wealth teaches us that money is never meant to be stagnant. It is meant to flow, to grow, to circulate. And when you embody this, you become more than wealthy. You become abundance itself in motion. And now, as this truth settles in, we reach the natural conclusion, becoming not just a receiver or a giver, but a channel of abundance itself. Final reminder, becoming the channel of abundance. Imagine for a moment, standing in the middle of a great river. The water is not yours to own, yet it moves through you, around you, nourishing everything it touches. You cannot hold it still, and you don't need to. Its power lies in its motion. Money is the same, wealth is the same, abundance is the same. It was never designed to be locked away in vaults of fear. It was meant to move, to flow, to be a force of transformation. You are not the reservoir, you are the river. Too often, people see themselves as reservoirs, collecting, hoarding, trying to keep enough to feel safe. But reservoirs eventually grow stagnant. The awakened truth is that you are not the reservoir. You are the river. You are the channel through which abundance moves into the world. When you shift into this mindset, everything changes. Giving no longer feels like loss, it feels like alignment. Receiving no longer feels selfish, it feels like participating in the sacred rhythm. Circulating money no longer feels risky, it feels like allowing the river to do what rivers do best. Flow. What will matter most at the end of your life is not how much you kept, but how much you allowed to move through you. How many lives did you touch? How much light did you spread? How fully did you allow yourself to trust in the endlessness of abundance? True wealth is measured not in numbers, but in circulation, in the seeds you planted, the opportunities you opened, and the energy of generosity you left behind. When you embrace yourself as a channel of abundance, you become more than prosperous. You become a beacon. Your life becomes a testimony that abundance is real, that money is energy, that flow is freedom. Others see your example, and their own chains of scarcity begin to break. This is how wealth transforms from a private possession into a collective blessing. It begins with you. So I invite you now, release the fear of holding, release the guilt of receiving, release the hesitation of circulating. Step into the circle of wealth with open hands and an open heart. Let money move through you with joy. Let it touch lives far beyond your own, and let it return to you multiplied, not because you forced it, but because you trusted it. You are not simply someone who has abundance. You are abundance in motion. You are the channel. And as this journey closes, remember, giving, receiving, and circulating are not three separate acts. They are one unified flow. Live within it, and you will never fear lack again. Thank you for spending this moment with Awaken Light Audio. If something today touched your heart or opened your mind, don't keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments. What spoke to you most? Tell us about your journey, your questions, your breakthroughs, and let us know what you'd love to hear next. Subscribe to stay connected. And if this message could uplift someone you care about, send it their way, because light grows when it's shared. Until next time, stay present, stay awakened, and keep becoming who you're meant to be.